On August 9th, 2021, I rolled out of bed and I talked about The Silent Patient by Alex. I still have not watched the interview, how he talks about his name. So Alex, michaelides, Michael M. Michael M. But Alex M. I'm sorry, sir. I rolled out of bed, I talked about that book, and here we are, December 10th, 2023. I still get comments on that video. I still get reactions to that video of people also being like, hooray, I'm not the only person that did not like this book. Conversely, I also get comments like, you're illiterate. How could you not understand what Alex was doing? This is a work of genius. I'd never read a book in my life after elementary school, and I just read this in like a day and a half. And now I read 300 books a year. It's like both ends of the spectrum have found that video. And I love that for them. I personally only ever think about The Silent Patient when I'm reading those comments, because otherwise, as much as I don't like that book, it hasn't really stuck with me. Like, there's no vitriol for that book, the way that like kind of vitriol that I have for A Little Life has sustained me. I don't know, like what, close to a decade after reading it, like 6, 7 years. Um, so I haven't thought about this book in a long time. Just like I hadn't really thought about The Maidens, which I read The Maidens the week before I read The Silent Patient. So like August 1st or something, end of, what would that be? End of July? Like, yeah, July, August. Um, I also vlogged that. I'll leave both of those videos linked in the cards. But the Fury, as we know from a couple days ago, arrived at my door, sent to me by somebody at Macmillan. I still stand by the fact that I did not request this. It's entirely possible that, I deleted an email that said, actually, sir, you did ask us to send you. Maybe it's possible. In my mind, I was never going to read this book. Certainly, I was never going to ask for them to send me a copy or, request it on. Have I requested on Night? I don't think I requested on NetGalley either. Not that requesting on NetGalley would have this, physical thing showing up at my door, but just to set the stage. But I went into this expecting it to be up my alley a little bit, just because having read the synopsis, it is the murder mystery kind of a movie star. That sounds like something that I would eat up. I don't really care so much about the isolated setting or the fact that there's a limited cast of characters. I like mess, which, somebody's murdered. Mess is inherent. And I like wealth. I like extravagance, right up my alley. And I want to say right off the bat that I would not pitch this book as a murder mystery. And the book itself, like when you're actually reading the book, the narrator of the piece makes it very clear that it's not so much a murder mystery. Like, I think there's a chapter where the narrator says this isn't a murder who done it, it's like a murder why done it. Like, why was this person murdered is like more important to them in the telling of the story. Having finished the book, I do think that it's my favorite of Alex's work. I do think that. I think that it's probably the one that I would say is the closest to actually being good. I think that that sounds very shady, but I do think it's the one that's closest to being good. And I think that partially because it reminded me so much of Saltburn, which is Emerald Fennell's latest movie, which I was very conflicted on after having watched the film, just because I don't really think that to me, Saltburn is like the visual representation of like beautiful gowns. All of the actors, Jacob Elordi, Rosamund Pike, Barry Keoghan, I don't know who is playing the husband in that film, but he's doing a good job. I don't know who plays Jacob Elordi's sister. It's my first time seeing her to my knowledge. But everyone in the film was like really good. Even the half black person in the film, the biracial representation, and how he was connected to the family. Like, everyone in the film was like doing really well, like with the script that they were given. I thought the script was very flimsy. And here I could similarly see a situation where if this was like on screen, an actor could like really get into it. But as written, it just feels very flat and like flimsy, and the structure of it, like I feel like we could if you poke at it a little too hard, it would kind of collapse in on itself. Maybe that's just my established bias against the fact that like I've never liked an Alex M book, and so like maybe I'm just predisposed to not enjoying his take on writing. This book also does a thing where the narrator is very tongue in cheek. Like they are aware that they are telling you a story, that they're writing a story, and they are very keen and at every turn being in control of the feeling of the reader. Like the narrator is very concerned with making sure that what they're telling you is going to lead you to a certain conclusion. Like it's overtly manipulative in that way. So calling it manipulative, maybe not the kindest thing that I could say, but I do think that the narrator is very aware of how they're relaying you this information and what inferences and conclusions you would likely draw from that. And that's all to sort of like build up this tower so they can like pull the rug out from under you, which I think works the first time, not so much the second time. The second time the rug is pulled out was like really when I started to get the Saltburn vibes, because it just was like one too many conveniences that just didn't add up to a cathartic moment at the end. Like, okay, we did all of this, but like, and we kind of for what and kind of for why, but also like, let's be a little bit fucking serious. Maybe it's an option. Like, it's just throw it out there, test the waters, if we will. But again, I do think that this is still his best book, at least for me. I don't think that it's. I'm not going to say like it's not compulsively readable. I finished this in a matter of like 5 hours. I think I finally started reading around 11, and I finished it a little after 2, maybe close to 2:30. So it was easy to in 45 minutes for increments, and also I took time to like watch YouTube videos on the side. So I was able to get through it pretty quickly, and it's not very long. The book itself is 297 pages in the arc that they sent me. I think Goodreads has it listed at 320, so maybe the final version will be formatted a little differently. I don't know. But this is split up into 5 acts. I think that's like probably a nod to some theater tradition, because the narrator of this is also a playwright, which I think is also like a nod to the fact that Alex M is a former screenwriter. I think he has like 2 projects on IMDb that I wasn't familiar with the last time I Googled him, but maybe since then I would recognize them, or maybe he's written something else and I would know that. I don't know. I haven't really kept track of this man. So I do think that there was some slight improvement, or maybe it just helped that this time I feel like there was a frame of reference to that. And also I do feel like this isn't entirely fair to Alex M, but for the first, I don't know, like 2 acts of the book, I really was like, this is just a less good version of Glass Onion. Not that the two were very similar at all necessarily, aside from like a group of people coming together on this island that is owned by a wealthy person. Like other than that, like they're completely, and obviously somebody's dead, there's a murder, and we're trying to figure out like who and why or whatever. So at first I was like, okay, well, this is like not as good as Glass Onion, even though the actual plot and premises are different. But once we got into like act 3 and you could kind of starting to see the narrator's motivations a little bit more clearly and how they were trying to shape audience expectations, I was like, okay, maybe this isn't like Glass Onion at all. And then by the time we were getting into act 4 and act 5, I was like, okay, this is just Saltburn. And I think that both of them, like both, like the flaws of Saltburn are the same as the flaws of the Fury. And the things that the Fury does well, I do think, is that the narrator is a compelling enough character. I think that they're the only compelling character in the book. Everyone else kind of feels kind of flat next to them. And I do think that that is by design, partially because of the ultimate motivations the narrator is revealed to have, and kind of what happens over the course of the story. It makes sense for the narrator's voice to be the most developed. But I would like to have seen the other characters developed more, maybe, or feel like they were in their own, because I think if they felt more real and more tactile, then the second time the rug is pulled out from under the reader, I feel like it would have been set up better and would have made more sense, and I could have been on board with it in a way that I just wasn't as it played out. This in the way that it played out, basically. So this book is on sale in January. That I do know. I want to say it's January 16th. One second. It came with an insert. Let me find the insert. Okay. The insert has been located. And yes, it is on sale January 16th. As for what I would rate this book, honestly, I don't know. It is in that gray zone between like a 2 and a 3. A 3 would feel very generous. I do think there were parts of this book that I was just like rolling my eyes at more than times where I was actively appreciating what the narrator was able to accomplish. As for me, like I said, it's fine. Would I purchase a finished copy for myself? Probably not. Probably not. This isn't a book that I would need to own in hardcover. I will say that having read the book, I'm not as upset at having read it as I was after finishing The Maidens or where's that book? The Silent Patient. Mariana. Mariana does make an appearance in this book. So this is connected in the loose sense of the word, that the Maidens and the Silent Patient were connected because Mariana and Theo are friends. Theo does get name dropped in this as well, so he's gone and not forgotten. Uh, but Mariana is name checked quite a bit, actually, I would say. And the first time she popped up, I kind of, that's when I knew that something wasn't right, because Mariana is a horrible therapist. And so if a character is being, helped by her, I just know that there's something wrong with that character. So I was like, that's when my little spidey senses, my Peter tingle, started tingling. And so I was just like, nothing is going to end well because of Mariana. And she does come back in and does things. Again, I think this is technically set after the Silent Patient. So the Maidens, in sort of in order of chronology, I believe happens first. So it's the Maidens and then the Silent Patient and now this, because of just how things would have to have gone. Anyway, at least I think I have my chronology correct. Not that it's important for you to have read those other two books to read this. It's not at all important. Although I will say that if you haven't read The Silent Patient, technically there could be a spoiler, like loosely, sort of, like kind of big one. But also that book came out in 2019, and it's 2023 now. 2024 by the time this book is actually out. I feel like if you were going to read The Silent Patient, you would have. But if you haven't, I will say that I think it's the epilogue technically. So you could read this and just don't read the epilogue of this, and you should be fine. Let me double check. Yes. Yeah, it's the epilogue. So if you have not read The Silent Patient, do not read the epilogue. But otherwise, you'll be fine. You'll be good to go. Nothing in this will spoil anything for you. So those are my thoughts on The Fury, my unexpected thriller moment of the day. Tomorrow I'll be back with another video. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it'll be something. I'm not looking for a tomorrow video because I'm supposed to spend today getting on track with my Patreon vlog and doing stuff for them. And I haven't touched that book. So I know that at tomorrow's video, it's probably going to be short, just like this one was short. And it might only be the start of a book that I'm giving you initial thoughts and impressions on, because I need to give them that video. They paid good money for it, so I want to make sure that they get their content. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and until next time.